Why do I have such...
Good evening, cheeseheads, and welcome to the instant reaction show for the Man United game. 2-0 loss at Old Trafford. We've got 9 people watching. You got me and HG at the minute. James will turn up in a minute. HG, get into it. What the fuck was that?
Well, it's a typical Spurs performance at Old Trafford, isn't it? I mean, it's weird to think that we've won there a couple of times recently. Obviously, there was the game where we won 3-0. That felt weird. I think that was like 3 goals in the second half. We ran away with it.
Yeah.
And then obviously the 6-1 when nobody was there.
Yeah.
And, Lamela did his best diving and all the rest of it. But I guess we weren't just second best, were we? Like if there was a third team out there, we'd have lost to them as well. We were just poor. I mean, let's say this: we were poor. Yes, United were extremely good, right? We know this from Spurs that if you press us, we struggle, right?
Yeah.
And they did, and they pressed us in numbers. And for whatever reason, I'm sure there are plenty of reasons, but thinking about it now, it feels like we just don't know how to play about it. Like we had our 3 centre backs were in a line, and the 3 central midfielders were in a line, and you can't play through lines if you're in a line as well, right? Like then it just becomes like a football table. You just run up against each other. So that's clearly a thing. But United were the best team in the first half. I mean, probably the first 15 minutes we were the best side, but then after that they just got into the game and we never really tried to fight them either.
No,
that's the scary part. It was very much like
we went there for a point.
I don't know if we went there for a point. I just, almost like Rumble in the Jungle kind of thing. Like we thought, if they run out and we just say, come on to us.
Yeah.
And then we've got enough, skill or talent or whatever you would say to then break and play on the counter. But we just didn't do it. And in the end, we were almost inviting challenges, hoping that we would get there just before them. And then when we didn't, we were suddenly on the back foot and struggling.
For me, HG, like from a very basic point of view, like you said, we sort of the pressure's coming on. Oh, you come like rope-a-dope type thing.
Yeah.
But the pressure they were putting us under, we couldn't cope with, and then we have 0 pace to break with, 0 pace, and Kane is our only creative outlet up front. And if they neutralise him, and Martinez did a half decent job on him tonight, we have nil. We have nothing else. And Son, the ball, like I said, he has been playing a bit better, but the ball bounces off him. It bounces off his foot, bounces off his knee. Doesn't get in any control. He sort of like slightly pulls out of the challenge so he doesn't have to go in it and stuff like that. And it's just literally like we spoke about the other night. I mean, James, I'm sure will come on. I mean, me and you have seen these performances lots and lots over the years, but we have won there a few times recently. But our record against like a traditional top 6, if you get what I mean, away from home, is poor. And I said this the other night, it's not good enough. And I know Caller said, oh yeah, but I don't think we're ever in the running for the league. Fucking Conte thinks he wouldn't be here if he didn't think we were the sort of team that can be challenging for the league. And our record and our performances, like at Arsenal and at United, they're just not good enough, are they?
No, I mean the Arsenal one was a bit weird because I felt like in the first half of that game, before half time, having equalised, we could have gone on and got second, and then obviously the stupid mistake from Hugo, and then the red card kind of killed that one. But tonight, tonight was like the Chelsea game, right, where we were second best, and we couldn't change it. Whereas in the Chelsea game, we were able to change things around, bring in Richarlison, go 4-4-2, and give Chelsea something different to think about. I guess Conte looked at the bench today and thought, I can't do that. I'm not even going to try. I mean, we could have done that. It would have meant taking off, maybe players that he doesn't want to. But still, we could have attempted something and gone, Brian down the left or Lucas down the right or something. But I want to hear what James has to say, and then I think we should just go to the comments because people are obviously pissed as we are.
Yeah.
So let's do that. James,
rant.
Oh, fuck me. Right, where do I begin? Firstly, too fucking slow. Secondly, we couldn't put a fucking pass together. There were too many times where there were just missed passes. This isn't fucking Sunday League. You're professional football players. We can do this in every other game, but for some reason against Man U, we capitulated. I don't know if they had dodgy food beforehand or something, or if the aura of the whole 10 fans seemingly in Old Trafford made them shit themselves. My big frustration is, okay, we didn't play brilliantly. That's kind of the lineup I wanted to see. There were some individual errors, as there were. You know, Hugo wasn't brilliant at the start. He grew into the game and he made some really good saves. So fair play to Hugo. I thought Romero was okay. Dyer had a few iffy moments. The midfield just didn't work. I thought Basuma was actually okay. I thought Bentancur was quite poor. I thought Højbjerg struggled. I thought Doherty struggled quite a bit as well. My big frustration is it's almost as if Conte didn't trust any of the players he had on his bench. Because I was thinking around like the 35th, 40th minute, I was thinking, this is awful. Let's just get to half-time. Conte can figure something out. He's got 15 minutes to go in, change the tactics, change the match plan, maybe make a sub or two. And we come out in the second half and nothing's changed. I'm just thinking, well, what have you chatted about for 15 minutes? Did you make everyone a fucking cup of tea? Like United came out and they were even more intense in the second half. Ten Hag obviously said something to them, and it just seems Conte sat there and had a fucking fag and a beer. I like Conte. He is the second best manager in the world. But I just think if you don't trust the players you have on your bench, what the fuck is the point of them even being in the club? Because Moore is not a world beater, but he has his moments in big games, right? And in a game like that, where we were really struggling for dynamism, I think just whack him on in the 60th minute, it gives United something else to worry about defensively. Maybe they can't quite push us as much. Take off Bentancur, who was poor today. Take him off, just throw him forward. Worst case, it doesn't work out, but it gives us something else, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that, the weird thing is, like, we've talked about this before. Like, a lot of us have said 3-5-2 is where we want to go, and I see a lot of comments saying that 3-5-2 is clearly maybe not what we should be doing. But like, when we play 3-4-3 with Kulusevski, then of course, we are willing to say, maybe we will concede possession in the midfield, because we want to give you something to worry about. And in a 3-5-2, unless we have pace in the wing back position, we don't. You saw it today. Son holding the ball up is not his thing. He tries, he waits. You can see him standing there waiting for the ball to drop 3 or 4 times before it's right at his feet, as if that's half the part of it. Holding the ball up, mate, it's getting under control in one touch, and then using your body to try and turn people. I know it's not his game, but if that's what you're being asked to do, there's an issue. We don't have anyone else, so I don't blame him for it, but it's painful to watch. Right, it is painful to watch, and so you feel like tonight, because we didn't have a great deal of options. Like if what could we have done differently to start the game had we gone 3-4-3? Would it have been Lucas? If we go 3-5-2, again, the whole point of that is that you have control in midfield. But what's the point of having control in midfield if your midfield is suddenly 35 yards from your own goal? And all we do is, I think it was the Mad drummer says, we just pass backwards all the time. Yeah. Far too much passing back. That's kind of the issue. Like we've got possession, but at no point did we ever look comfortable, and that includes Hugo, who came for something really early on that he should never have come for, and we got away with it. So I just feel like if you're going to try and play that way and try and control the game, you've got to push forward. And we seemed quite happy to just say, okay, well, if they're going to press us, well, we need to be back to make sure that we can deal with it. But no, at some point you have to say, no, you can't press us if we throw people forward. And in a 3-5-2, that has to be the wing backs. We had a discussion in our own little chat group afterwards about Perisic and what we think of him this season. Like, you play Perisic, you play him because he's an attacking threat. You don't play him to try and deal with Anthony down the left-hand side. Although that's part of his game, you want to get him high up the pitch. And at no point did Spurs show any inclination tonight that that's what they wanted to do, which is strange, because we often see Conte yelling at players, get further up the pitch.
There's the frustrating thing for me as well is two of the things I picked up on when I was forced to watch Man U Newcastle was A, if you don't let Anthony cut inside, he's shit. He only has a left foot. He doesn't have a right foot. I don't know if he thinks it's invisible or something. Just let him have as much room he wants out wide. Just don't let him use his left foot, and he's useless. We kept letting him cut inside, and we were lucky he didn't punish us. And the second thing is, De Gea and generally their defenders, aside from Martinez, just cannot play out from the back. If you press them high, like Newcastle did, they really, really struggle. And we didn't do that at any point in the game. And I get
James,
that's not Conte, but sometimes you got to be proactive.
I don't think Kane can do that, can he? Like, without Kane's brilliant, but I just think he's a bit more conservative now in that, with that respect of close. I think he sort of makes an attempt, but he doesn't really go. You know, like they were going like hell for leather at our defenders, weren't they? Closing them down and in the midfield. We don't really do that, do we? You know, we struggle to do that. Bentancur does that more than Kane. You know, it's just something we're not going to do.
It's a mobility thing, isn't it? Like Bentancur is actually deceptively fast and he is quite mobile. Højbjerg has his moments where if he's close enough, he can get his foot in. Bissouma today made a couple of decent interceptions, but at no point were none of those three were thinking, right, now we've done something, we need to make runs. I do remember seeing Højbjerg at one point in the second half making a third run off the ball, hoping that either Kane or Son could get it through to him. But outside of that, if there's no threat coming from that midfield five, right, and Perisic is the only one who gets forward, and he had a couple of good crosses in the second half that possibly could have come to something. Perisic can beat his man, whoever that is, can beat him easily. It's a simple step over, and he's done him, and we've seen that repeatedly this season. But again, if you can't get him in those positions often enough, what's the point? I mean, it becomes like you're asking him to play a winging position from inside his own half.
Yeah, we just don't get we just don't, like I said, I think Perisic is our best wing back, but defensively, like you said, he's not great defensively, and he's up against Anthony, and we keep letting him come in on his left. This is the point I sort of want, like, from Daniel here. Are we ever going to change the mindset if we can't get something from these sorts of games? This is what we spoke about the other night, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, we sort of you try and be positive. I think we can go there and win or whatever, but we all sort of know we go to these games and what do you think that happened tonight, HG? Do you think that is mentality of the players or just the way we're set up? What do you think? What do you think that is? Why do we have these performances against these teams?
I mean, it's not just tonight. I genuinely think that the way that we set up and the way that we play, and it's quite a passive game. Right? Yeah, we are doing what the manager wants us to do, and it's interesting how you often see teams are kind of built in the image of their manager, right? And yet Conte as a player was full throttle all over the pitch, never say die, and yet his teams as a coach aren't like that. They're almost the complete opposite of who he was, where it's like, what. We'll let you come on and then we can do something. And it does make you wonder, why he's chosen to be that way. But to me, I don't think our players, no player really enjoys the blood and thunder, especially, maybe some do, but I don't think many of our players do. We want to be the cultured side that can play it around. But at some point you have to have a bit of something else. Yeah. And Spurs don't have that. For plenty of years in my childhood, everyone talked about Spurs being soft, and we never had that tackler in midfield who would just clean people out and say, right, I'm going to run all day, I'm going to make 100 tackles a game. And Spurs have never really had that. Dyer came in and did that job for a couple of seasons. It's like, wow, now we've got someone who basically says you ain't passing, and we don't have that anymore because Højbjerg doesn't have the mobility to do it.
No.
Bentancur, Bissouma, that's not really their game. So, you've said, right now, we've got these cultured midfielders, we've got these players that are decent at intercepting, but they're not going to go hell for leather, and then you stick them on the edge of your own box because of how you play. That, to me, is difficult to understand.
That's I can't get my head around, James, is that I'm not right. So, we got Jed Spence in the squad. Yeah. I'm not saying he's fantastic or whatever, but it's quite clear to me that at times you're going to, you need that pace as an outlet. So you think to yourself, it can't be that much worse defense because Doherty didn't really have lots and lots to do defensively. He weren't making last-ditch tackles. He's just very deep. So I can't understand why. And he came on with 2 minutes to go, didn't he, Jed Spence? 88. It was something like 88 minutes, 34 seconds. I just don't understand it. I can't get my head around it. Can you enlighten me?
No clue. I still don't get why he made the sub so late as well. The thing of that is, Doherty's crossing was horrendous. I mean, he hit Luke Shaw in the head, so well done, I guess. But he still couldn't cross a ball. I mean, how much worse could Jed Spence be? I suppose the only argument could be because he's not got as much senior experience, maybe he'd wilt under the pressure. But seemingly half of our senior players did wilt under the pressure, as they do in a lot of these big games, apart from City for some reason, who he seemingly always beat. But I don't get it. You could see how it was going at half time. Just make 3 fucking subs at half time. Change the system, even if it's fucking Mora, Spence, and Sessingham. Just change something because, it wasn't going to change the way we were playing. We weren't going to get a result out of that. Eventually, United were going to get lucky and score, even if they didn't improve. And we had 1 or 2 okay chances here and there, and okay, maybe Kane scores. But I think at that point, you look at United's bench, they've got Eriksen on the bench, they've got Ronaldo on the bench last 20 minutes, they bombard us. I just think you've got to change something to try and get control. The one thing I gave Conte a shitload of credit for was in the Chelsea game, he did change things. He changed it twice. Tuchel changed it twice as well, but he changed it twice. He acted to what he was seeing, maybe a bit later than he perhaps should, but he did actively change it during the game, and he didn't tonight, which seems weird to me. He even brought Mora on in the Chelsea game. So I don't know if he's not fully fit. Maybe that's why he didn't do it. Maybe he doesn't trust Spence. There must be something else in Conte's brain, but if I was playing Football Manager, after the first goal went in, I'd have made 3 changes and changed the structure to try and get some control back because it just wasn't working.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Like every now and again, you'll hear I'll read things or I'll see things, and people are like, "Oh, the manager's just trying to send a message to the board that he needs new players, which is why he keeps everyone on the bench." And I just think, I can't believe anyone would actually do that. Right?
No.
That makes 0 sense to me.
Mourinho's the only guy who might ever do that, I think.
Even then,
maybe.
Are you
then.
really willing to throw a match or 2 just to make a point when you could just pick up the phone or send an email? It doesn't make any sense to me. So
I don't think Antonio Conte is afraid of going to Daniel Levy and telling him exactly what he thinks.
Right.
No, absolutely not. It must be HG. We got no Kulusevski, no Richarlison. It's got to be a trust thing, hasn't it? Like he just must look at some of these. Like he actually say last season he turned around, looked at the bench, and turned back round to look at the pitch, and he must. And I think with a couple of injuries, he must do that now. I mean, we had all this bollocks earlier on, didn't we? That like Spurs have won the transfer window or whatever nonsense people say. But we did have a decent transfer window, but a couple of injuries, and it's. And this is where we are. Conte's got no trust really.
It's 2 injuries and a suspension to a guy that none of us really want to see play. I mean, we say this about Emerson. Emerson would have played tonight. Had he been available, and even if Conte trusted everyone and saw these players in the way that the fans did and said, well, when we're attacking, we may need Doherty more, and when we're playing a tough team away, we may need Emerson more. I feel like a lot of fans would see the value in playing Emerson tonight, especially when he's up against Sancho or whoever. I mean, Sancho didn't do a great deal, but it's like to me, this idea of if United are playing their 4-2-3-1, which is probably what it was, right? Those wingers, to me, one of those centre backs has got to come out and deal with it. Like you say, right? You know what? If Royal is more defensive, then fine. Royal will take him. And on the other side, you shift everyone across. So Davies becomes the left back, and then the left wing back can play a bit further forward. I mean, we saw that kind of thing with Mourinho, where he did try to say, right, I'm going to play. Mourinho loved Davies because he could play both formations. Yeah. But we don't really change things. We basically say, right, it's Rashford against Dyer tonight. But I feel like every time Dyer would win a header, it would fall to a United player. And every time Rashford would win a header, no matter what direction it went in, it would fall to a United player. And you start wondering, what are Spurs trying to do here? Are they just staying goal side? So if the ball goes over their head, well, of course it's going to go to a United player. It does come back to what I said right at the start, where we played in lines.
Yeah.
There was no movement between the lines. Son and Kane stayed kind of level with each other. And the midfield 5, or whatever you want to say, were pretty much level at all times. We don't need to be playing an offside trap in midfield or attack. Do you know?
Don't break ranks, it feels like, doesn't it? Don't break ranks. This is what we... But what really annoys me is, the ball will break down and Spurs will win it back. and nobody sort of looks to be on the front foot and lay a pass somewhere. It's as if we get it and we knock it back to Dyer, and he'll get it and he'll stand on it and he'll look left, look right, maybe pass it sideways, and then and then it's Man United tonight. They just get back into shape. They just get back into shape, and it's like break us down, and we're like, well, we can't break you down because unless Kane drops off and puts the ball around the corner or we're moving about quick, which we weren't doing, we don't break team. We haven't got the guile or the speed to do that. So then you just letting it. There's no thought like we got to move the ball a bit quicker here, lads. We got to sort of start moving Man United about. They're defending well, and we're sort of just like happy, like you said, to attack in that, to attack and defend in that manner. Just like, don't break ranks. This is where we are. This is what we'll do, and we'll just continue to do it.
Yeah, like Dyer or Davis, whoever plays it forward to a midfielder, and they don't have any time to turn. So where does it go? It goes back again. But then, like, I mean, to be fair, you see Man City do this all the time. Now, clearly, they are a much better side with very good players, and teams sit off them. Teams don't press Man City because they know they'll probably get beat. But that's because Man City are good at breaking the press. Teams can press Spurs all day long because the odds of us getting it right under pressure are not good. And that's not because of the players who are out. I mean, like, obviously, I do think Kulusevski would help, but he's the only one. I'm not sure Richarlison would have been a much better option tonight. I mean, he could hold the ball up better than Son. But so you just feel that, like, 3-5-2 was the right call tonight because of the options that we had. We didn't have anyone to really play that third attacking option, certainly not with any quality. But if you're going to do that, you have to be aware of what the other team might try and do. And United were never, having beaten Liverpool at home and Arsenal at home already this season, they were never going to say, you know what, we'll give you whatever time you need. Right, especially 75,000 people midweek under the floodlights. Everyone's there to watch United win, and although it was only 2, it could easily have been 5. The saves that Hugo made.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
He was, and even at the beginning he was a bit nervy. It was one of those games where, like, I mean, Hugo's done this before in big games. He always looks a bit nervy.
Yeah.
But once he's made a couple of saves, he's in it. And you don't want that to be the case. You want someone to have that confidence from the start. Today was just, I mean, it's one of those things. We play Newcastle at the weekend. Newcastle won again, right? Yeah. It's not going to be an easy game. First goals with Spurs seem to be really important. If we get it, then, we'll go on and probably win the game. But you do have to think that if it's 3-5-2 or whatever system we play, we have to decide that if our wing backs have pace, we can do whatever we want. But if they don't, then we need to play higher up the pitch. And we need to say, okay, yeah, maybe you've got Rashford who's got some pace. Maybe you've got Anthony who's got some pace to get behind. But we're going to have the ball, so it won't matter. It's the trust has to be there. Otherwise, we'll be hanging on for a point, which is probably the most we could have deserved tonight.
Yeah. James, add anything to that?
I'll say one thing. We can't fucking lose to Newcastle or I'm going to be rinsed about it for the next fucking 6 months on end. So I don't care, Antonio Conte. Do a fucking deal with Satan. I don't give a shit. I can't put up with that for the next 6 months of my life. Anyway, side point. When I was thinking about it in the shower this morning, as you do if you're into football, that is the lineup we had today was what I wanted, right? That is what I wanted, effectively. So when I looked at it on my phone, I was like, oh, okay, I'm quite happy with this. I turned the game on. I was coming back from the shop, and I just think, fuck me, we don't look good. Sometimes I feel we look like a team who hasn't researched what the other team are going to do. Whereas often when we go to these big games, they look like they know what we're going to do because it's quite obvious. We should have known United's flaws, and we didn't seem to exploit them. Okay, maybe Kane can't press that well. Well, I don't know. There's things you can do, right? Like you can drop him behind Son, right? And get Son to do it, or you could get Lucas to do it. I mean, there's things you can do. Maybe you don't want to do that. Okay, cool. But then why are we always letting Anthony come in? Maybe Conte has researched it. Maybe he does know that the players just aren't able to counteract it. Well, then that's a skill issue, right? There were too many times in midfield where we were completely outclassed by fucking Fred. Fred. We know how good Fred is. He's mediocre. He's a Brazilian Harry Winks, basically, with a bit of aggression.
He's better than Harry Winks, mate.
A bit better.
I'd say he's quite a bit better than Harry Winks.
Maybe he's a Brazilian Musa Sissoko then. I don't know, right? But like you look at that midfield and I think those are all good players, right? You know, Bissouma, Benteke, Højbjerg, they're quite similar. I think Bissouma's the most different of all of them. I thought he was the only one who had a decent game today. My worry is, against a team like United who will press under Ten Hag, I don't think that team that midfield three can effectively pass through United, which we saw tonight, right?
There's quite a few people. Yeah, probably right, James. There's quite a few people starting to slightly go in on Bissouma a bit. You think he was... I thought he was all right. I thought he got a bit worse as the game went on, to be fair. But I thought for a big part of it, he wasn't brilliant, don't get me wrong. Arguably the better out the three earlier on. What do you think to him, mate? Because people are sort of going in now, all this like, this fucking 3-5-2 that everyone's been calling for, it's rubbish. Bissouma, this is the, where is he? What's he all about? People have started to go into him a bit now. What do you think to his role tonight, HG? What do you think?
I mean, I saw a comment, the one from Daniel here, right? This idea that he played differently for Brighton, right? I mean, that's true. Brighton were always a 3-4-2-1, right? And you've got those two attacking midfielders that could come inside. So you always have, the Chelsea square, as I call it, where you've got your attacking midfield. So, it was one of the four, but, they played higher up the pitch. They wanted to. Even though, Webster and Dunk and whoever they don't have pacey centre-backs either, but they trusted their ability on the ball, and that's what they were going to do. And, we know what Potter's like. He's very much like, this is how I want to play. You're going to go out there and play it. And Conte has that, but it's just a lot more... I don't want to say defensive. It's just, he decides that we are going to stay where we are and then we're going to try and take advantage of your mistakes. To be fair to Man United, they didn't make any mistakes today, no. Right? And it's not because we weren't trying. United moved the ball crisply and well. We tried to do it, but the passes were always, half a yard behind or the touch wasn't there. I remember there was one time where Bissouma had the chance to chest the ball down and it ran away from him a little bit. Yeah, so it's those things. Even when I play football, there are some days where the ball seems to stick, and other days where it doesn't, and there's no logic to that, right? I'm not suddenly better for one night in four. So I don't know. When things are going that badly, you dig in and you say, right, thou shalt not pass, and we did that until halftime, right? We did. Yeah. United had chances, but nothing that was crazily open. The one that Rashford probably should have scored from. But otherwise, it was just pressure. And we saw this in the Liverpool game away last season, where the shot, they got an equaliser, it deflected off Bentancur. That was kind of like that. At that point, we had a goal, so we were defending. But still, when you allow people to shoot and then you try to block it, well, that's what can happen. I feel like Spurs defenders don't usually try and block shots. They basically say, right, you try and find the corner. And if you can, brilliant, well done you. But as we saw with Ben Davies tonight, he sticks his leg out trying to do something that is probably the most natural thing in the world. And it costs us because it wrong-foots Lloris. And then any chance we have of saving it is gone. Nobody played well tonight. I think Romero was all right. I think Bissouma was okay, but not good. To say he was the best of the midfield three damns everyone. Right? It's not.
I'm not saying he was brilliant, HG. I'm just, obviously, there's people in the comments now and have a look on social media sort of going in on him a bit because we've gone to that 3-5-2. So I was just sort of asking the question. But, our ball retention isn't good enough, is it? And when we get into that final third, the ball's just got to be better, hasn't it, James? It's just not.
Kane played some tremendous passes. When Doherty came in the box and had that chance to cross goal. That was a beautiful pass from Kane. But the thing that really stuck out to me about that is, Kane's the bloke you want in the fucking box when Doherty's about to cross it. And I get that's part of his game, but we just had no end product. It seemed we lost our heads a bit. Yeah, Bassoon wasn't brilliant, but he was the best of the midfield. And I'm not seeing any Højbjerg hate or Bentancur hate, really. And they were much worse, we just weren't good. We couldn't pass very well today. We were lacking dare I say, an Eriksen type player. Not Eriksen necessarily, but someone a bit more composed. We just seem to lack fight.
Composure, guile.
Fight and composure, and just even when you lose your composure a bit, if you've got that scrappiness about you, you've still got something. And we didn't even have that today. We just looked second to everything. We looked like a team. It reminds me of when I played football, when my team were a bit shit for a few years. It looked like we'd gone to play top of the league with 9 men at 9 o'clock, an hour away in the rain, and we couldn't really be fucked to be there. You know, we just knew we were going to lose, and we just wanted to go home and play Call of Duty. It wasn't quite that bad, but at times it just looked like we didn't believe we could win the game. And United are shit. They're not that good. They were better than us today, but they're really not that good. They struggled against Newcastle. They're really bad in a lot of areas. And we should have had that belief that we could go there. And we should have that belief against every team. We last season, we did it against City twice. We did it against Liverpool twice. We got 2 points against them. If we can do it against those big teams, we should be able to do it against fucking anyone. You know, we got a point at Stamford Bridge. How often do we get a Stamford fucking Bridge and get a result? Not very often. You know, we should be able to go to Old Trafford and say, we can get a result here. Because we're still going to finish above Man U in the league. I firmly believe that. It's just, why did we capitulate, even when I think the starting lineup was basically correct? Okay, maybe Longley over Davies, because Longley's better at passing. It's just, where did the composure go in the midfield? Did everyone have a few pints before they started playing? I don't get it.
I mean, like, we talk about, you know, the comment that talked about how the midfielders were always passing the ball back. I mean, that's what Winks got absolute murdered for a number of years, because he played the safe option. And, that, you know, again, that's what we did today. At no point did we say we're going to try and break through your press. We allow them to come on. It's like, hey, you want to close Dyer down? Fine, we'll give it to Davies. You want to close Davies down? Fine. He goes back to Hugo. And then suddenly, like, there's nowhere to go, right? Because Hugo's distribution isn't good enough. So he's not going to find Perisic with good passes that often, because that's not he didn't grow up in that kind of football era.
No,
like he's probably like one of the last keepers who was like, he was a very good sweeper keeper because that was his thing, and now he's a bit older. He doesn't do that so much, which is probably good. So then he's left with what, like the shot stopping, which is what we saw tonight. It's frustrating because, like, I can sit here right now and say United were the better team, and even if we'd played well tonight, I think United would have beaten us. But the fact that we didn't, the fact that we were so just passive about the whole thing, right? I mean, there weren't any. I think Casemiro was the only yellow card. Like, at no point did we try and do something to stop it. It was just, we're here. Oh, there's 2 of you. Oh well, you know, and that's rough because. You know, 23 points from 11 games is not bad. It's now worse than the record that Mourinho had in his season when we started so well. So like there are clear issues, and this Newcastle game is not going to be an easy one. And after that, we've got obviously the Sporting Champions League game, which these are big games now. Like we can't. I don't want to. I mean, obviously, I don't want to lose any game. But Newcastle will come to Spurs on, is it Sunday? Sunday evening,
yeah,
right?
Sunday evening, 4:30.
And they will think that they will beat us. And again, like not that they can, but that they, if they play anything like they have been, that they will. I think it's just unfortunate. Like I can handle Spurs losing if we've done everything we can to try and do something. You know, if we're being outplayed, we change it. If we're still being outplayed, hold your hands up and say fine. We didn't change it, right? Was it like 10 minutes left when we started making substitutions?
Yeah,
and
Sanchez on.
Yeah, and again, like whatever attacking threat that we have, like we 2-0 down against Man United. I'm not worried about giving Eric Dyer a rest.
No.
Okay, you know, I'd rather see Lucas and Brian come on, and you know, maybe they only get 2 or 3 runs each. Maybe they barely touch the ball. But you're showing some kind of initiative to go on and do something with whatever time we've got. Throwing on Sanchez, throwing on. I mean, who else went on? Sessegnon came on and played right wing back. Like again, when Spence is sitting there, what's the point?
Well,
right? None of us
did
would
come
have
on.
cared. Sorry,
Spence did come on, didn't he, in the 88 and 30 and a half minute? But you know, it's like I'm sort of with Daniel here. Obviously we can get away. I said in our group, Spurs are likely to go away to the traditional top 6 and lose all those games. We'll probably beat most of them at home and get points off them at home. We'll beat the dross in the mediocre, and we'll finish top 4. That's what we'll do. But if we really want to kick on, and I agree with this, you invite good teams on who are good in possession, and it ends in tears. Yeah. You cannot allow. We have got to stamp ourselves on these games a lot more than we do, and so for someone on like a football dinosaur like me, HG or James, when we're inviting this pressure on by good teams, how are they expecting that tactic to work for? How's Conte expecting that tactic to work for us? I don't get that.
It can work, I think. It worked against City last year. It does, but it relies on a couple of things. It relies on a lack of clinical finishing.
Yeah.
And it relies on
perfect defending.
Astute performance. I mean, there are some historical games. I mean, it's the Jose Mourinho style, right? I remember looking at it on YouTube about a year ago when I think it was in to beat Pep's Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of game. It can work. The problem is we haven't. I love Eric Dyer. I love Ben Davies because, I'm Welsh. I have a Welsh flag in my window, so everyone who walks past my university hall knows I'm that guy. And I think Romero's great, but we will struggle against some teams doing this. Maybe we can get away with doing it against City, or we could do, because they'd have 20 chances and they just fire them all over the bar. We get 2 and win 2-0. Maybe we were able to do it against Liverpool because they're shit at breaking teams down. They just cross the ball a lot, okay? But I think against the United team, who are very much, they want to have the ball slow in possession. They want to play that very slow tiki-taka, as do Arsenal. I think you kind of have to press them a bit, even if it's not going to be a high press, even if it's just a mid press. Like, you wait till they get into the midfield, then we press the shit out of them. I think you kind of have to do that. I don't think you can play this 2010 style all the time unless your defenders are really, really good.
You talked about the Man City games from last year, right? The big difference is that when we played Man City at home opening day last year, our front 3 was Son, Bergwijn and Lucas. All of them have pace. All of them give you something to worry about, right? So but maybe it was, probably Dele played in midfield that day, but when you've got a back 4 and you've got 3 midfielders that are basically there to just sit and keep the ball in front of you at all times, but you still offer something on the break. We don't. The team tonight offered nothing on the break. It was all about, if we can play in their half, then we might have done something. But United made it impossible for us to do it, and we didn't try to do as much as we could to get out of that. We didn't use our midfielders in different positions. We didn't throw a bit of pace on up front. We didn't say to Doherty or to Perisic, right, you go and play as a left winger, right? You go and stand there and make sure that Diego Dalot can't come forward. I watched it on Amazon tonight, and they kept on talking about how is Dalot playing like, João Cancelo by moving into midfield? I'm like, well, yes, but not because it's a Man United plan. It's because he's got. Why not? Why not move into midfield? He's got no defending to do. It was poor all round. It wasn't just the players. To me, it felt like this was a case where Conte had said, this is the only thing we can do. We don't have any real choice. We're going to do it for as long as we can, and then after 80 minutes, when the game is over, I'm going to throw on substitutes like they're the kids in the under-13s football who they train every week, but everyone knows they're bad and they're never going to start games. But we'll just throw them on, keep the parents happy. That kind of nonsense. That's what it felt like.
Oh.
And I would rather see someone like Spence thrown on and said, you know what? If we're 2-0 down with 20 minutes to go, off you go.
Express yourself.
Express yourself. You've got nothing to lose at that point.
To dare is to do.
Well, yeah.
Well, at that point, if there's 20 minutes left, the game is still salvageable, right? If you get a goal within 5 minutes, you get a point out of it, right? When you leave in 2 minutes, well,
it's not pointless, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a slap. It's a slap in the face, isn't it? Really, it's just like, let's waste some time. I'm not saying he did, but when you do all those subs like that, it kind of feels a bit like waving the white flag. Let's just get this game and get some bodies on.
It's not even that. Like against Arsenal, when you're down to 10 and we're down by 2 goals, that felt poor, right? Even if it was more understandable, even that was like, why are you that white flag in it with 20 minutes to go? No Spurs fan wants to see that, right?
No.
But tonight, again, like it wasn't as if the second goal was in the 85th minute, and then you're fine. We'll just, we'll rest some players. We'll try and stop injuries, whatever. There were 20 minutes to go, and we did have something different. We could have said, you know what, we're not going to do 3-5-2. We'll see what something else will give us, because we did that at Chelsea and we got something from it. And I don't think that's going to happen very often this season, because again, that Chelsea draw was pretty fortunate. But you do something different. Like going to 3-4-3 or going, I mean, to me, I've said before, 4-4-2, I think, is probably our best plan B, because we've got enough wingers and enough central strikers that we could probably do that. Like if Kane's out, fine, Richarlison and Son are up top, and you can have Lucas and Brian down the wings, or Perisic down the wing, or whatever. I think you've got enough options to do that. But to do what we did today, it felt poor from everyone.
Yeah.
The most frustrating thing against today was, as we saw in the Chelsea game, Conte changed effectively the formation twice in that game, basically in the second half. He was just reacting to what was happening. He has the ability to do it. He can do it. And again, he did bring on players like Lucas in that game. I'm just thinking, we're 1-0 down. We're struggling to create anything. Doherty's not having a good game. Put Lucas at right wing back. I know it sounds crazy, but at least he's got a bit more pace, and at least he's going to run behind and force United back a bit, maybe. He can't be any worse defensively, can he? That midfield wasn't working. I thought surely at some point he's going to take one of the midfield three off and throw Lucas on for the last 25. Surely? It just never happened. I'm like, Conte is intelligent enough to see what's happening in the game. Does he just look at what's happening and think, I do not have ample tools to solve this tactical issue, and because I can't solve it perfectly, I won't try anything?
Yeah, it does appear that way. I mean, like this comment from HFN is perfectly on point. Like when Arsenal got beat there, they were well in the game, right? Like it was 1-1. That the second goal from Man United was the key moment, because then Arteta decided to do what we're talking about, and he changed everything. Even though Arsenal were probably quite unfortunate to go down, but he decided to change everything, and then United got the third straight away, and it was game over. Then Arsenal couldn't get back into it. It just felt like Spurs were never in the game today.
No,
right?
no, they weren't, mate.
The first 10 or 15 minutes, it felt like we could give as good as we got. But as soon as United took control and started pressing, we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. And it's frustrating. I mean, obviously, we've got friends who went to the game and spent money to go, and sometimes some of them spent a lot of money to go. But it's like the comments from us sitting at home and watching it on Amazon or watching it on whatever we were watching it on, like it feels like wasted time for all of us.
Yeah,
because we knew we didn't give not even a good account of ourselves. We didn't give an account. It was just like
shambolic.
Yeah, will the real Spurs stand up? Is that closer to the real Spurs? I don't think so. That was a poor effort. The Newcastle game, I think last season when we beat them 5-1 at home, that was like the anomaly for them, right? They didn't concede many goals, and they haven't conceded many goals this season either. And so it's not going to be an easy game. And they've got quality players. Like even with Isak out and St. Maximin out, they get a result at home against Everton, who have done quite well this season. If we go and get 3 points on Sunday, we'll forget about Man United. Right, yeah. We will, and we can sit here and say, you know what, United have played all these big teams at home, and they've got to go to Anfield, and they've got to go to the Emirates, and they've got to go to Spurs. But if you're winning your home games, suddenly the away games become a bit of a free hit. Like it doesn't matter so much because you've done the business on your own ground. And United, as there's a couple of comments, like they will have confidence now. I think they've got Chelsea at the weekend. It'll be one of those with Chelsea drew tonight, right? I think it was.
I haven't.
I think so. Right, it'll be one of those moments where, United will lose at the weekend and we'll beat Newcastle, and everything will be back to where it was, and you think that it's okay, but it's not okay because that doesn't change how bad we were tonight. It doesn't change the fact that we had a chance to lay a marker and we fluffed it, and United laid a marker. Like they played really well tonight. Like they were getting results with McTominay and Eriksen in midfield. I'm sorry, I think Casemiro and Fred are probably a better pairing. We were perhaps unfortunate that we had to face that, but they just seem very well drilled and they know what they want to do. Like Bruno Fernandes is playing in this perfect position. They've got Sancho who likes to play down the left. They've got Anthony who likes to play down the right. Rashford is not a central striker, but he didn't have to do much today to threaten us. He could just pull over to the left-hand side and Romero would go with, or Dyer would go with. There was one long punt.
Yeah.
We just let the ball bounce and Rashford ran onto it. And you're like, what the
Kicked
heck
it
is
out.
going
He
on?
kicked it out, didn't he? He kicked it out himself. So Chelsea did draw 0-0 with Brentford. So we are third on 11 games with 23 points. Chelsea got 20 points after 10 games. So if they win, say, their game in hand, they're level on points with us. But it's like if Man United win their game in hand, they're a point behind us. Newcastle, same games, 18 points. So, we've really got the result. We've had that result. You can sort of try and brush it under the carpet a bit if we beat Newcastle at home because we've still got that little bit of a cushion, really. But, I think it's like we said before the game, we'd have took a point, wouldn't we? And then depending on how it is, your opinion might change, but we certainly would have fucking took a point after watching that shit, wouldn't we?
I mean, so this is it. So we've sat here and talked about how results have been better this season. We got a point at West Ham, we got a point at Chelsea. Yeah. We lost at United last year, so
yeah.
But you look at our away record, right? Is it 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats, and the games we didn't win are the tough ones, right? Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal, Man United. Those are games we don't expect to get much. But when you get 2 points from 12, sorry, like I'll lose to Chelsea and beat West Ham and take the extra point.
Yeah.
Right. Like at some point, like I read a tweet yesterday from Simon, one of the cheese room people, and he talks about how a draw can be like the most costly result, especially if it's a team that you're supposed to beat. Those are the ones that matter. Like today, losing at United, it's not nice, but we've all seen it plenty of times.
Yeah.
But it will be like if we beat Newcastle, if we go to Bournemouth and win that game, and then I think we've got Liverpool and Leeds before the end. Like if we can, like the Liverpool Leeds are both at home. So if we come out going to the World Cup and we've won every single home game, we're laughing, right? Because it would be like 8 wins out of 8, and like that, a home form like that will see you get to the top 4 almost regardless of what happens away from home. But you can't look at Spurs right now and think, are we going to beat Newcastle at the weekend? Do we have enough to say? Because we've scraped past Wolves. And the Everton game, when it only kind of came to life when Richarlison got injured. Would anything have changed had he not? Like, would we have continued to toil? Like, there's very little to say. Like, there's very little to feel that we're going to go and do it. All we've got is the fact that we've done it so many times. But is it based on performance or is it based on management? Is it based on mentality? Like, it can't be based on performance because we just haven't seen it that often.
No. So, I mean, shit performance, shit result. We have to go again, like we've just said. So, Newcastle Sunday. Does Conte, in your opinion, James and HG, go to James first, same personnel available to him, does he go 3-4-3, put Lucas in Hill up front, or does he stay 3-5-2? What do you think Conte will do, and what would you prefer?
I think he probably goes 3-5-2 again. If Kulusevski isn't available, he goes 3-5-2 again, I think.
Yeah. Do you agree with that? Would you do that?
It's tricky because I think Moore is better off the bench than as a starter. But at the same time, I think Newcastle press a lot, so having the extra men out wide probably helps us because, as we saw tonight, we struggle with playing through the mid. So maybe if we have the extra presence out wide, we're going to do better there. Yeah, I mean, what else can you do? I guess that's what you have to do. My big thing is I would change the starting 11. I would probably start Longley, and I would probably start Sess. But there's not a whole lot else you can do.
HG?
I think he'll go back to 3-4-3. I think he'll find a way of doing it. I think Lucas will start, or someone, or he'll put Perisic there and ask Sessegnon to play wing back. I think he'll go back to 3-4-3 because we've seen that most this season. right?
Yeah.
It was weird in yesterday's press conference that he talked about how he had lots of options for 3-4-3, and we all thought this is a ruse, like he doesn't mean it, and he'll go 3-5-2. But 3-5-2 works if we play higher up the pitch.
Yes.
You know, are we worried about Newcastle's pace? I mean, Almiron's not slow. Callum Wilson, I guess, played centre forward for them. I don't know, but like they've got good players. But we have to say, you know what? We'll take the risk. We are not good enough to play the way that we did, right? And certainly not with the same personnel. We've got to say, right, we're going to go forward and we're going to win that midfield battle, and we're going to give you something to think about. And your fullbacks will have to stay back, and you can try and beat us with your front three and Guimaraes, because that's it, right? It's really weird that Conte has always been a 3-5-2 manager, really. Okay, like he only went 3-4-3 at Chelsea because they had, Hazard and Pedro and
Costa.
The striker was Costa. Thank you.
Costa?
Right? It was Costa. So, like when you've got the players to do it, we have the players for a 3-4-3, and the way we're going right now with the 3-5-2, like Son doesn't like the ball with his back to goal. And if that's what we're doing, then it doesn't really matter the formation. That he just doesn't want to do that. It is not his game, and it's never been his game. So, maybe 3-4. Like, it would be nice. I mean, it's not going to happen, but it would be nice to see a 3-4-3 and say, you know what? I'm going to have Brian down the left and Lucas down the right, and they will push high up, and Kane will drop. Kane won't play on the centre half. He'll want the centre half to follow him, but he won't even try to be the focal point. We will just say, we go 4-4-2, and you play Kane and Son up top, and you play wingers. Again, he's not going to go with the back four, but those are the options available. There is nothing to stop it from happening. It's not just we have to do 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 defensively. There are things we can do, but I expect that we'll play probably 3-4-3 and try to push higher up the pitch. And it could easily work if we just did that.
Well, look, I mean, it's easy to say, isn't it? We go again, but that's what you got to do. We've had a rant about that game. It weren't good. It's not good enough. I'm sure. Are you on the show Friday, HG?
Possibly. I don't remember what I've agreed to. Generally speaking, if there's a Premier League game, I don't really want to do a show because I want to watch the game. But I don't think there is one Friday night.
I don't think there is one Friday night,
because
HG.
Of the midweek one. So yeah, perhaps I'll be on. But
I'm sure you'll get the call up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a bit of one to take, isn't it? But I don't know what else to say. But we've sort of got to go again, haven't we? It's the games come thick and fast. There's no time to feel sorry for ourselves. We've just got to sort of trust that. Well, we just got to hope really that Kulusevski is back, haven't we, James?
I fucking pray. He offers something so different from Son and Kane. Again, he's like a good version of Lamella, right? He's actually good at finding the passes. Yeah, I hope he's back. I hope he's fit, even if it's just a 30-minute cameo or something. We need that option because he's not going to. Seemingly, he doesn't want to bring Lucas on. He doesn't want to bring Gil on. The game's already seemingly won. So at least, even if he's only fit for 45, at least there's an option then, and maybe Conte will make a sub. It reminds me of Pochettino a little bit, where he would wait until the 97th minute of added time before making a substitution.
Yeah,
it's just frustrating. I don't understand the stubbornness at times. Like you can see it's not working. You've got to.
From my point, the whole thing about tonight's game is frustration. That the overriding feeling is frustration. Like HG said, that we never really gave an account of ourselves. And I felt the same against Arsenal. I fancied us in the Arsenal game, and we just sort of shit the bed, pretty much like we did today, and it's frustrating. But like former Bolton player Alan Thompson said here, they've got a lot of injuries, so they expect a Spurs win. May the best team win, but not 5-1, please. I'll take 2-1 to Spurs.
I'll take 1-0.
So when you said Alan Thompson, I forgot that we had a comment from him. So I'm thinking, what, the old Bolton player? The left winger? I was like, Alan Thompson's on the show. What the heck?
It was Alan Thompson, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, one last thing.
Go on.
Whatever this says I fully agree with it. I've no idea what it says, but I am willing to say that I almost certainly agree with what Dooley 4919 has put here.
Do you want me to translate it for you?
Shall we do that?
Can you
Let's see.
just quickly translate it?
If you give me like a minute, yeah.
So, I mean, we'll let James sort that HG. But are you expecting a win against Newcastle, or are you sort of at the minute? Are you thinking?
I'm a Spurs fan. Even under Pochettino's best ever team, right? Did I go in expecting a win? No. Right. Even when we were beating Bournemouth and Stoke and everyone 4-0 at home, I don't think I ever expected a win. I knew that it was likely, but expectation has always burnt me. And so, like, I think we wrote in the chat room today, like, fool me 330 thrice. I mean, that's where I am with Spurs. I've believed them too much. It means Conte Perez out. Okay, then I don't agree.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I picked the wrong one. What does the other one say? What about this one? That probably says Eric Dyer is amazing, or man,
It must say Levy, surely.
Translate that as well. It's Korean.
Dooley.
Yeah.
I wanted to believe it, but I
I
can't agree with
almost
that.
got cancer watching the game.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, according to the translate.
Gosh.
Dooley 4919.
Yeah,
presumably from Korea.
And on that note, guys, I think we'll say, come on, you Spurs.
Please don't make me fucking deal with the Geordie Burrs, like fucking laughing at me over us losing some. I can't deal with that. Come on, you fucking Spurs. Let's ban Newcastle.
Yeah, come on, you Spurs. Suddenly, all the kids at my school tomorrow will be Man United fans. How could you? How could you? Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you fucking Spurs.